And so I was like, you know what? Maybe this is another platform I could live stream on to show people the inside of a kitchen and stuff like that. But I ended that live career real quick due to too much of the negativity on here.
Yeah. Immaturity, I'd say, right?
Yes, but I'm gonna still utilize this to maybe talk, do this, do that, try to make, I like making, to be honest, I know as funny as it sounds, I like people, I just want to make people laugh and smile, man. If you can, if you're gonna crack at me, crack at me. Just laugh and smile. Don't take it so serious, man. We're here for a good time, not for a long time.
Right. It's funny because every morning, like a morning time, whenever I wake up, I'll be on TikTok, and I'll go to your notifications. I'll see that you're live, and I'm like, yes, James is live. I'll stay on there for about like a good 30 minutes. It's great entertainment. I love it. I'll have my girlfriend with me too, and we'll just watch it right there. It's a good time.
I appreciate. I just like to talk, clown, and have fun, man.
Yeah, that's what life's about. Life can't be too serious,
Right. And I just keep the food. I guess TikTok is more of my personal thing instead of keeping my Facebook page or my YouTube page. They know kind of where I came from, and everybody tells the story as well. Hey, aren't you the guy that came from prison? Da da da. But I try not to talk about it too much over there, because that is my business. I'm live streaming the inside of the business, and which is you're supposed to be looking at. So I stay on TikTok to tell my personal story and use this as my own personal platform, because I get a lot of friend requests through Facebook, and I just don't need you that deep in my life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I appreciate everybody and will always support everybody, but if you just don't need that many people and on your thing. Right. So that's kind of why I use TikTok for what I do. Right. Plus, like a positive story. I did a positive post, I think it was a few days ago. Things that I did for people that couldn't read in prison. That's a story that I want to put on here. Mm-hmm. I am not going to entertain questions like, did you drop the soap?
Yeah, I mean that's ridiculous.
What kind of food did you eat in there? Everybody knows that. Yeah. Not everybody knows that there's people in prison that need help, and that people were there helping them read letters. I used to write letters for people that didn't know how to write. Right. Read letters to people that could only read half of a sentence. Mm-hmm. That's a story that I'm going to put out there, things that I did to override that tattoo gun, whatever TikTok you want to be. And I'm good with that. Keep it going. I'll stay in my lane with it. Keep on showing everybody what can be done.
Right. Hey, James, do you feel like especially for petty crimes, I've asked a couple of my other guests, petty crimes, people are getting the max sentence. And I feel like that's another note. And then that one, that's one note. And then another note is people that have grown up in poverty, no father figure, no role model, no family, no one to go to, no goals in life, and they end up in prison because they have no choice. Especially even foster care. I feel like a lot of kids end up in foster care, and then they get mentally and physically abused in there. And yes, like I said, they have no choice. And that's the thing that's not talked about is foster care. You watch a lot of these documentaries and do your research, and I would say about more than half of them get mentally and physically abused, and they end up in the prison system, and they get psychologically, I would say, messed up in a way, and they become institutionalized, criminalized, and they don't know what's right from wrong. You know what I mean? And I feel like instead of throwing someone in prison like that for lengthy time with a bunch of other criminals or whatever, it's doing no justice. And that's why I feel like the criminal justice system and the prison system is for sure corrupt, and they know what they're doing. It's just a money thing. But and another thing is that these people come out of prison and they're seen as like a threat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like for an
That is a
example,
big fear.
right,
That was one of my biggest fears, was people would look at you as being a threat.
right. But they
And
exactly, but they don't know your story. They don't know
right,
you.
right.
And,
And a lot of people do that, you know, that they do get institutionalized at a young age, starting from foster homes, juvenile halls,
mm-hmm,
you know, maybe mom and dad is in prison. They don't
right,
have nobody to go to. So yeah, they're forced into that system at such a young age that they end up criminalized.
mm-hmm,
They're seduced. Some states and cities, counties, or whatever, foster care, state homes, group homes, youth authorities, they seduce the kids to that lifestyle.
yep, mm-hmm,
A lot of it is because it all starts with the youth. A
absolutely,
lot of people wait till they get old to get in trouble and everything. But the problem is there's really no help for the youth and the younger generation, maybe above the youth that get put in those foster homes, adoptive homes, parents' homes. They're thrown and put in situations. So it's going to make them rebel.
mm-hmm,
And then that's all they end up learning. And then that's all they end up knowing. And yes, they end up institutionalized, whether it's inside there or when they get out, they're like, okay, it's time to go back and just start doing what I know. I know when I get back there, I ain't got to worry about nothing.
right. And those are the kids that are really intelligent too, and they're
Smart.
and smart. Yeah, they're smart, and there's a
I mean, it sounds weird to say, but they got good criminal minds.
yeah, absolutely,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
It's weird to say that they got good criminal minds,
yeah,
but there's a lot of smart people if they took advantage of situations. It's just, they at a younger age like that, they need more motivation and programs than just being 23 and 1.
right, mm-hmm,
You can't even do that to a rat.
right,
23 and run. I know I did it for 16 months. I was 23 and 1.
right.
It does give you a different mindset. It does take you to be a different person. So actually, they're molding the society of what they're trying to help, uh, uh, rehab themselves.
Right.
There's not enough care in the system.
Right.
And I agree with that 100%. You know, if you want it, you can find it. You just got to actually want it.
Right.
Because there's other ways than the systems that can help you if you want it. If you really, really, really want it. There's places you can go. But being incarcerated, there's not enough. There's not enough programs to help mold the youth to be a better person. All they do is put them behind the closed doors, send them to school, and carry on your ways.
Absolutely.
No,
Honestly,
no programs. Maybe schooling or whatever. Always pushing you to a GED and putting you in a corner. Because sometimes it is all about the numbers. Because if they just keep you over there, they really ain't got to worry about you.
mm-hmm.
They'd rather I've even seen some places, and I was incarcerated in some places, where they would just rather put you over there than have to worry about you or do anything for you. On the real, then there's some that actually do want to help you, but there isn't enough programs throughout the whole system, from state to fed to county to city to the youth. Me personally, I think they should have more youth style juvenile boot camps with more mentorship,
Mm-hmm.
not jail.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds weird coming from somebody that's in prison, that me saying what we need to have, and then people are saying, well, that's just like being in prison. No, you don't make it like prison. You make it like a military style boot camp that has mentorship, guidance, and things like that to prepare you, to get you away from the mentality of running the streets, being a D-boy.
Right.
Always doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give them more mentorship, more leadership programs, like a juvenile style boot camp, instead of just putting them behind closed door, 3 hots in a cot, do what you want. We'll see you again when you get out.
Yeah. James, honest question. Do you think and then we'll talk, I want to talk more about your business too, but, do you think that the justice system will get better? Do you think they're moving in the right direction? Because I know they're starting to. I'm studying this one class, restorative justice, and instead of throwing the person in prison and stuff and giving them the lengthy time, they're making amends with their victim. So, like a domestic violence case, the offender and the victim will meet, and they'll try to make amends. And instead of throwing that dude in prison or woman or whatever, it'll be like a minimized sentence or on parole with what's it called when you leave prison and you have to go in the
halfway house?
No, not halfway house. It's like the therapy sessions. Sometimes you have to go in the therapy sessions. Yeah,
Anger management program.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. And being on
NA,
parole.
Alcoholic Anonymous, different programs, right?
Right. That's what they're trying to lean more towards too. But honestly, me personally, I don't know if that's gonna. I don't know how they're gonna do that, because I know California, especially, the more inmates they have, or convicts, whatever, that brings in more money for them, for the state.
Right.
But do you think it's gonna get any better?
You know, stiffer sentences for petty crimes, that they need more rehab and maybe reintroduced to life in a different way than just being locked away.
Right.
You know, will the reform in sentences and things like that get better? God, I hope it would. But as long as people are out there doing the stuff that they're doing, how can the other side just say, okay, well, we'll let this little petty stuff go on and on and on and on and on and on, and then you just end up a career criminal? You know what I mean? You got to have some repercussion for what you're doing. But if you stole a candy bar because you were homeless and you end up with 10 years, God, no. Yeah. Then it's about numbers. Then it's about money. Then it's about politics. Then it's about just putting somebody in the system that you don't want to help. That's going to, if you was to give them the help that they needed from being homeless or something, to where they didn't have to steal that candy bar, then you failed. Right. And all you're doing is just putting somebody in there that really didn't need it, that all they needed was some different type of help.
Absolutely.
Programs, not jails, programs.
Right. Absolutely.
They got money. There's money for theirs. And that's where I want to see the reform come in even more, to be honest with you. There's millions of dollars there for
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Millions for reform in prisons.
Right.
You know, not everybody that goes to prison has that chance to survive when they get out. There needs to be more programs for survival rate than return rate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them get out with a mental issue or with issues of not having a place to stay, not having anything. There's got to be more programs out there, halfway houses, you know, things like that. There needs to be more programs if they want reform and they want justice in the criminal system.
Right. Instead of
you got to get those criminal numbers down, because the majority of this system is return. It's a high return rate. You know, people like me that got out, we're either called 1%ers or 3%ers. We were the 1% that made it and the 3% that got another chance.
Mm.
You know, the systems are, you know, the return rate. There's no programs out there to keep helping people.
Right.
So if you can't, you got to reform that type of the justice system right there. Don't lock somebody up for a 40-cent candy bar when you could have took $400 and put them in a halfway house for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And gave them more of a chance to survive than more of a chance to go back.
Absolutely. And I feel like you
set them up for failure from the get-go.
Right. Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
You're expecting them to trip the first day they're out.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't give them a sidewalk that ain't got all those cracks and bumps and divots in it and expect them to succeed, you got to give them somewhat of a smooth walking path and help them out. Yeah. And programs is what is needed to be done.
Absolutely.
Bottom line, there needs to be more programs like that.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I feel like these celebrities too, that have these huge platforms and a large amount of money, like Kim Kardashian. I mean, her dad was a famous lawyer that helped out O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
But I mean, even the Kardashians, they have stupid amounts of money. I mean, it goes on, and then I mean, they're you know, she fights for this cause or whatever, and the whole the criminal justice system. When it's like you can help out so much more, but you're not. If I was in her position or someone else's position that I had a higher platform, every day I'd be in prisons, learning more about what goes on, the correctional officers, how corrupt they are, because the correctional officers, they don't care. They're there for their paycheck and then they leave.
That's where it starts, right there.
Yeah, I mean,
they're there for a check. And, you know, in a way, you almost can't blame them. That's an easy paycheck. Just turn around, lock the fucking door. Excuse my language.
No, you're
just
okay.
Turn around, lock the door.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, with her prison reform platform, I almost find that laughable, to be honest with you. That's my personal opinion, bro. That's, you know.
I'm there with you, though.
I guess I really don't know how to say it. To me, personally, I think it was all a clout thing, man.
Yeah, it's a laugh in the face, to be honest.
It is, especially for you know, I was that convict. You know, what if I didn't get out and have that mindset of I'm not going back to prison. I got to create my own program.
Right.
You know, and then she's out here blowing smoke about how she wants reform, but ain't doing nothing to help the reform.
Right.
Are you building any buildings to give the platform to help the people? Because that's what they need. They need a platform outside, not just a bunch of laws and rules and regulations written down on paper and say this is a policy, this is that. Use your platform with millions of dollars and get everybody else that says they're all about rehabilitation and stuff like that. And don't tell me that you can't create a foundation throughout a nation of things that could be done, because it can be done. You know what I mean? So I'm glad she's fighting for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would rather see a lot more programs to help out than a lot more jails and prisons.
Absolutely. Hey James, one more thing about prison, real quick. I really don't. I know you're different from a lot of these other people that are once in prison. You don't really like to talk about it, which is a good thing, because you're focused on the future and your goals. But have you ever met anyone inside that was wrongfully convicted of a crime that they didn't commit?
I'm not even going to lie to you. To be honest, no.
No.
I really, to be honest, man, I was a loner in prison.
Right.
I really was. Um, I talked to people, but I really didn't get involved in anything, man. I really was. I was the loner where I didn't want to hear your story, just like I know you don't want to hear mine. I didn't hang around people in there. I when I went to school to learn. I went to my trade class. I went to my trade. When I went to yard to go work out, I went to go work out. I was a square. I was a loner.
That's the way
I
to do it,
really
though,
was.
right?
What's that?
That's the way to do. That's the way. That's the right way to do your time. Now, that's nothing wrong with that. That's the right way to do
It,
it.
it is the right way to do your time, but it's also a hard way to do time because you really end up becoming antisocial.
Yeah.
And that's the other problem. You know, like with me, I have no problem now being sociable. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to be in that mindset is I talk around, I can't talk to people. When I was in there, I just didn't want to be involved in any of that because I knew I wasn't that type of person on the streets.
Right.
So I'm not going to be, I don't want to be around it in here. I was a square. I kept my headphones on. I kept my nose in my books. I read history. I listened to different music. I did not online, I did in the mail programs trying to get my little college business degree. You know, I did that. Got me a little AA in business. I did it through the mail. I really didn't meet you know, I didn't talk to people about cases and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, I was
Right.
a square, man. I talked to very few people in there.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that at all. James, speaking about your music though, I noticed you listen to a lot of old school hip hop, R&B,
Yeah.
a lot of black music, and I caught on to that quick. And I think that's really cool. A lot of people, I feel like your age, especially. I know how the politics are inside prison. Well, I don't know, just what I study. And a lot of that, how you said you threw on your headphones and stuff. I feel like if you played that out loud and then, you know what I mean? And then
I
one of the dudes hear it and they're like, oh, you know what I mean? It kind of give you like a little
that
side
was
eye.
that actually happened to me my first day on the yard.
Oh, wow.
My first day on the yard, I was 18 years old and I went from the minor side to the adult side at 18. But I was still, we were intermingled because I was sentenced as an adult for my troubles. I did have some rap music on. I was over there doing pull-ups and working out. I was approached by somebody. They came up to me. Hey, what the hell you doing listening to that music? Don't you know what color you are? I ought to beat the shit out of you.
Wow.
I took off my headphones and we scrapped right there.
Right.
I had to defend myself. I had to defend myself because of the music I listened to. So I didn't want to be involved in that because I'm not like that. You're not going to breed that hate on me. So that's why I walked the line, but I held my ground because I had to. You got to protect yourself in there at all times, at all costs.
Right.
Regardless. But yeah, I listen to all types. Man, I put my nose in music. I love the old school hip hop. I like some of the new school hip hop. I listen to all types of music. When I was in prison, I used to make myself listen to different genres of music because all music, in the long run, all music tells a story.
Absolutely.
Can you relate to that story in the end, no matter how it goes? Whether you're bobbing your head like this, cruising or whatever, or you're jamming out, listening to some good whatever rock or country. What's the story is it telling you?
Absolutely.
Who cares what type of music? Is it rap? Is it old school? Is it country? Is it rock and roll? You know, I got in fights in there.
Right.
I was like, man, I don't want to be like, I'm not like that. You ain't gonna put it on me. I'm a square, but don't come up and test me, because I
Right.
will stand my ground. You ain't gonna tell me I have to be. You're not gonna dictate on something I have to be that I'm not as a person.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna happen. You know, so that I did have some hard time in prison about certain situations. So
Right. You stood your ground though. Respect to you, James. That's huge. You know what I mean?
that's
Especially
that,
in,
well, that's kind of like what you have to do in prison. If you want to look for the situations, you want to get in that trouble. There's trouble to go get into, but if you want to stay away from it, but you still have to stand your ground to be able to stay away from it and not get dragged in it. You know what I mean? You have to do that, and sometimes that, you know, it sucked.
yeah.
It sucked. Gosh dang it! I got to defend myself. I got to go to the hole for 60 days because I had to fight somebody because of the music I listened to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something small just like that, huh?
And it's not even small. It's just so irrelevant. You
Yeah.
know, I did time in California where that is
They're
the
notorious.
that in, and I can't speak for other prisons, but in California, all jails, all camps, all prisons are all segregated,
Mm-hmm.
all the way down. You don't sit with, you don't house with, you don't live with, you don't talk with. And that's what made me a square, because I wasn't going to live like that. I'm like, I'll talk to whoever I want to.
That's why you're unique, though. That's what made you unique, who you are.
That it was hard time in prison, but I was just like, that's what made me have the mindset when I got out. I didn't want to have to go back and live like that.
Right.
But some people don't know anything else.
All right. And James, I'm thank you for sharing, a little bit of that, because like I said, I know you don't like talking about the whole prison deal, but I feel like people need to know what actually goes on in the inside. Um, Especially
Oh
like in
yeah,
the late 80s or late 80s, like early 90's or whatever. That's when you're in there, right? Totally
yeah,
different
yeah.
from now. I feel like it's
Way different. It is, um, in there, in the prisons in California, it was really segregated. They push hate. And I'll put it on Front Street. They push hate and division in the prisons out there.
right.
Everybody does. The guards, they set up hate and they set up division. And I know for a fact, because I seen it.
Yeah, you
I was
experienced all that.
pushed into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're pushed into it. They created hate and division to make things easier for them. I seen it. Many, many lockdowns over nothing. Setups over nothing. We've seen the cops inside prisons set things up just to not have to do anything. And that causes a ruckus with inside the prison that creates a lot of hostility and trouble.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've seen it. I lived through it.
Yeah.
And that's the lifestyle that people do. That's the other prison TikTokers. They're not talking about situations like that.
Mm-mm. Not once
Are
have I
they
heard
telling?
it.
They need to be telling the people the real deal is keep doing what you're doing. That's what you're gonna have to live like while you're in there, no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Be lucky you might get to go to Princess Dora Land for a couple of weeks, juvenile hall detention or whatever. But tell them what really goes on in prison. You know, just it needs. There's a lot of BS in there. They're not they're there to do a job, but they cause more against